What's up, guys? Straight from the chest. My name is Justin Groth, and guys, I want to thank you for tuning in with me. Whether you're listening or you're tuning in live or you're watching on YouTube, I'm so grateful for your listening ear. I'm so grateful that you give me your time. It means a lot to me, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Guys, I have a question for you right up front. My question is, what makes you keep going? Why don't you give up? Why don't you just throw in the towel right now? What is driving you to continue in this pursuit for life? What is it? And I want you to answer out loud right now. What is it? Can you even think of it? Can you even muster up the idea, that the idiosyncratic idea that keeps you propelling forward? Most of you will say, well, because I have to provide for my family. And that's a valiant reasoning. That's a very noble reasoning to stand on. What if you didn't have a family? What would keep you going in that regard? Some of you would say money. I got to make money, right? And I can tell you right now that if money is your sole driver, then that's going to flicker fairly rapidly. Now, not in the context of 5 or 10 or 20 years, but in the context of your life, that's going to flicker out. That flame will flicker very rapidly. You need something that's further instantiated in your biological being that is a meaningful pursuit in your life to keep you propelling forward. Otherwise, you'll fail. Otherwise, you'll digress. And that's just the reality. So what keeps you moving forward? What is the tune that you sing to every day? What is it? There are going to be days, I get it, man. There are days that you feel like everything's crumbling around you. There are going to be days that nothing goes right, that you wake up from sun up to sundown. It's shit across the board. I get it. That happens. But the way you see that means everything. If you see that as it's happening to me, then it's going to be horrible, horrific. All of that journey is going to be horrible and horrific, even for that day. But if you look at it as it's happening for me, there's something that's getting me ready for the calling that's on my life. There's a reasoning behind this, and I can actually learn from all of these slips and slides that are happening in this day. There's a reasoning behind it, and if anything, I'm going to get more refined as a byproduct, and I learn what works and I learn what doesn't work, and I further instantiate what works and I relinquish what doesn't work. So it's a matter of you looking at it as it's happening for me rather than to me. Every process in life in the beginning is going to suck shit. You have to understand that. Every process, muscle building process, the process to building your business, the process to building your individual self, everything is going to suck in the beginning. And it's going to further suck if you have no meaning and you don't know yourself and you don't go all in to who you are. It's going to suck even more. Why do you do what you do every day, money aside? If you can't answer that, you probably need to have a moment to yourself. Because the best I can describe it is this: you need an invisible incentive to work towards. An invisible incentive. You may not understand the manifestation of that incentive yet. You may not know what it looks like. You may not know what's going to come of it. But there's got to be an invisible incentive. And the reason why I call it invisible is because you don't know that it even exists. But there's something knocking at your door every single day that you get up. And it's saying, you got to keep going. You got to keep doing this. No matter what you feel like, no matter what the day brings you, you're going to be further along once you get done with today than you were yesterday. And that's what you compare yourself to. You know, Jordan Peterson says it best in his book, Meaning of, what is it, the 10 rules of life, 7 rules of life, 12 rules of life. I think it's 4. He says, you don't compare yourself to somebody else, you compare yourself to who you were yesterday. I believe it's 4. I don't know, I could be wrong. It doesn't matter. But that couldn't be said better. So every single day that you're up and you're at 'em and you're getting your production going, even if you're barren that day, you are more productive than if you were dead. And that's producing something in you that's furthering you in the progression of what you were called to be. But if you adopt a sense of nihilistic behavior, or if you abdicate yourself of any responsibility, and you live a life of just floating by and not doing anything worthwhile, even if it means failure, because it's going to mean failure, because failure is going to happen, then that's not a life worth living at all. And if you compare yourself to somebody else, like he says, you're just going to wind up in the ditch, further and further in the ditch of actually bordering on that side of just forgetting it and giving up. Because you're never going to be as good as somebody who has already done it, obviously. But they've put in the work, they've put in the time, and they've believed in themselves, and they haven't let nihilism take the helm. That's important. So you don't even need to ask yourself, what am I doing? Or why am I doing this every day? As long as there's a visceral, invisible incentive that's guiding you, that's all you need to know. Because that's adopting meaning in your life. And that's developing you and your practice in the pursuit that's going to inevitably lead you towards your legacy. I could stop there. But let me break down some context for you in my life. I suck most days. I'm not always on. I don't feel 1,000% every day, even though I discipline myself with my nutrition, with my workouts, with my lifestyle and my business and all that. In fact, if anything, I have to better instantiate quality of life with regards to rational proportions of what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'll become addicted to one thing and I'll just do that, and that's not quality of living. But because of that, that's a constant tug of war. On top of that, I have massive obsessive compulsive disorderly traits that lead me to spend time in frivolous, obsessive activities that I don't need to spend time in. That takes away from me being better. But each time I give in to the fact that this is making me worse, it sets the narrative for the day. That's not something I'm cool with. That's not something you should be cool with. Because there are going to be times, a lot of times, far more times that you suck than you're going to be great. But it's in those great moments that you give yourself this type of reassurance and enthrallment and ignition that catapults you to a new level. And we have to be riding a new trajectory every single day. It may not be that we actually embark on that trajectory, but because we're in the pursuit of that different trajectory, that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps the ball rolling. That's how we continuously gain momentum. But if you have none of that, you might as well just lay down. And that's not living, man. The invisible incentive is where it's at. You don't have to know what it looks like. You don't have to know where it's going. You don't have to, and it's better you don't, because if you did know, you would probably fumble it. It's better that you listen to your gut and you keep going amidst people and their negative accords. You listen to God. You listen to the truth that He instantiated in your being, and you let that be the motivated driver towards your purpose, ultimately your legacy. Done.